As you watch the screen, your heart begins to beat faster. There's a fluttering in the pit of your stomach. Your throat is dry. Your palms damp. Suddenly a chill runs down your spine. You clutch the person next to you. You tell yourself, it's only a movie. It's only a movie. But sooner or later, it's time to go home.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Lindsey.
I'm Ron.
I'm Jay.
And we are excited to welcome to the show for the first time the purveyors of the excellent horror podcast, Two Girls One Crypt, Misty and Kendall. Misty and
Hi.
Kendall.
Hi. Thanks
Welcome.
for having us.
Yeah, we're excited.
We're nervous.
This is the last podcast you should ever be nervous on.
Not at all.
This is the our hallmark is our lack of professionalism.
We're used to that, so we'll be right at home.
We're the most unprofessional.
Yeah.
We don't do none of that. So.
We'll come back to that in a minute. But first, we are here to talk about The Hitcher, starring C. Thomas Howell, Rutger Hauer, Jeffrey DeMunn, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, written by Eric Red and directed by Robert Harmon, released in 1986 on a $7.9 million budget. It grossed $5.8 million at the box office, found a real audience on cable and through home rentals, spawned a sequel, a remake, and is often listed in top horror movie lists of the 1980s. Before we get into all that, Misty and Kendall, let's talk about Two Girls, One Crypt.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your show.
We like to say we are a show for the horror fan or the horror curious. So if you are a big fan of horror, you might like it. If you don't really watch horror movies, but you're intrigued by it, I know we have a listener who doesn't really, she's a friend of ours. She doesn't really do horror, but she likes listening to us talk about it so she doesn't have to watch it. We're the show for you.
Spoil everything.
Yeah, we're definitely spoiler heavy.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, how we do our episodes is we have something we call the wheel. Kendall and I both love to make lists. And we naturally break things down into unnecessary subcategories. And so we did that with horror movies. And we have, I don't know, probably close to 100 subgenres of horror movie.
Yeah.
So we spin a wheel and we get a random category at the end of every episode. And that's what we're going to focus on the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes with movies we haven't seen, most of the time for Kendall.
Yeah.
She hasn't seen it. So yeah,
especially
we have
if Misty's picking it, I probably haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So
I like to terrorize Kendall with my choices sometimes.
She's more, she's gotten a lot more under her belt, and I'm a little newer within the last several years. So there's a lot that I'm kind of discovering about what I like in the horror genre. And it's fun to break it down into these categories because I've learned that I actually like stuff like body horror and gore. I never would have thought I'd like that before.
Kendall likes the nastiest movies. I was shocked.
do.
You would never think it looking at her, right?
I'll give you one if you haven't seen it. It's called Possessor. If you
I love
haven't come across that, thank you. Yes, Possessor is fantastic. It's a Brandon
gnarly.
Cronenberg. Yeah, and it goes in places that you didn't know you
it does
wanted
go
to
places. Yes.
So no, Misty, I feel you though, because
that
the joke on this show is to try to find something I haven't seen 5 times and has been for years. So.
Yeah.
So, and
Well,
no
there's a
one
lot of,
else on the show can remember anything we've done. And for some reason, I can't remember anything valuable, but I can remember every episode we've recorded. So have we done the Sting? No, we haven't done that.
Somebody's got to remember that.
Yeah.
Can we finally do, Honeymoon in Vegas? We did that in 2012, or whatever. It's random.
That's impressive. I have a terrible memory, so I
We
have a
don't
list.
remember anything.
I think because I I mostly have done the editing. It's why. So
makes
I've lived with them for a while. Back when I used to edit the show, most people that listen to the show for long enough know that's a very loose knife now. But yeah,
It's because we're so professional. We get it all done in one take. You have very little editing.
We know exactly what that's like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I surround myself with true villains, and I just sit over here and watch the fun. So,
well, Misty and Kendall, let's start with you. What is your history with this movie, The Hitcher, the 1986?
This was a first time watch for me. Slashers are not my preferred category. I don't flock to them. So I've passed this one up for years. I mean, so this was a first watch for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. I had never seen it. I don't really know if I knew a whole lot about it. I'd heard of it, but not a whole lot. And I love 80s anything. So it was fun to actually check that one off my list.
Sweet. Ron, what about you?
Oh man. So longtime listeners of the show know that for about a decade we had it wasn't stolen cable, right? It was cable that called several times to say, hey, we're getting free cable. You guys want to come shut it off? And they never did. And one of the benefits to that was we got HBO and Showtime.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
So yes, and all the other channels too. But the only premium channels we got were HBO and Showtime. And I'm not sure why. But I'm definitely not complaining because this movie was on HBO all the time. So I've seen it in pieces dozens of times because I'll show up and it's like, oh, okay, this is the part where, they start beating C. Thomas Howell turns into Rambo First Blood.
Right.
And this is the part where, Rutger Hauer is driving around a pickup truck, just shooting down helicopters. It's one of those movies where I've seen it way more than I probably should have.
Ron, when I saw it got its audience on cable, my first thought was, oh, so Ron's definitely seen it then.
100%, yeah. And I think I might have even seen it on Showtime at one point with a Joe Bob Briggs introduction in the pre-Monster Vision Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater show. Because my grandmother had the movie channel for who knows what reason.
Jay, what about you?
Oh, this was one of those things that when 1986, I was 10. And so having a 15-year-old brother helped out a lot because you got to see stuff you didn't necessarily, I think he saw it in theaters with some of his buddies. And because back then nobody carded for shit. And so then I think he ended up renting it or something one weekend. My parents were into this kind of thing. They thought it was, fun. And we watched it. And then we caught, when we would have the Showtime or whatever, I think I taped it on a VHS. So I watched it a good bit because I knew who Rutger Hauer was, though, because I had seen Nighthawks at a very early age and then saw Blade Runner. So I was like, oh, it's that guy, And for years, Ron, I thought he was Rostov in Invasion USA, only to find out that it definitely was not. I've seen this as, for years. Now it's been, gosh, I was trying to think about it. I don't know the last time I watched this. It's been a long time since I revisited it, but growing up, I watched it a good bit and saw it. And then I think I got curious and rented the sequel with Jake Busey at some point for a reason. And I don't remember anything about it, but I saw the remake in theaters. Most of those Platinum Dunes remakes I actually caught in theaters. And as far as those go, and I'll talk about it more, maybe we'll get into the show, it's not bad. It's actually one of the more watchable ones. But this one has always held sort of a special place because I felt like in its wake, there was a show, I don't know if it was on Showtime or HBO, it was called The Hitchhiker. That was sort of this it was sort of this mysterious character, but he was also kind of Bruce Banner-ish, just popping in and out of things. But it was always, the setup always reminded me of the Hitcher, like this just random guy on the road. And you didn't know if he was good or bad. You can never tell. But yeah, I've been with this one for a long time. So it's a movie I know as well as I know anything. And when I watched it for this, it was amazing how much of it came back. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, I forgot about that.
Jay, that was a classic HBO show, and it also did a couple of years on the USA Network.
Okay, I think I caught most of it on USA then, but yeah.
And he's very much styled like C. Thomas Howell in this movie.
Yeah.
Mm,
Felt very much that
Interesting.
way. Yeah.
cool. This was my first time watching it as well, which is the case for a lot of films that we review on this show, I think. So it was a journey. I'm really excited to talk about it with everyone.
Ooh, that's intriguing.
That is
Yeah.
that's an ominous beginning.
No.
Yeah, that's the podcast equivalent of picking up Rutger Hauer in a rainstorm. Like,
Yeah.
it's-
Wait a minute. Did Brian watch it with you? So,
No. I don't ask him to watch horror movies. He's not even really horror curious, I would say.
okay.
So on occasion, if it's more, he would have made it through this one fine. But he's not a gore watcher at all. Definitely not. So yeah, every now and then, if I think it's something that would be palatable, then I'll throw it out there to see if he wants to watch it. Not a fan of like any of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies.
The terrifying.
Bummer.
He sat through. I know he sat through one, and that was quite enough for him.
Yeah.
Was it the fifth one?
really-
Is that the one you made him watch?
No. Actually, I watched that one by myself. It was the second one.
Oh, it was Garbage Day. Okay.
Yeah.
Garbage
Day. I know.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to watch it. And he was just like, I don't get any of this. And I said, well, it's kind of a cult classic. It's, you
Not
just
the
gotta,
point.
yeah. And he
You should've-
also
you should have
found out that,
You should have been like, "Hey, we're gonna watch a classic Mickey Rooney Christmas movie," and then showed him the fifth one.
There you go. Perfect.
I don't, yeah.
That's all in the marketing.
Yeah, you're the marketing person, so
I know I should, but no, I did discover that day that he is not a fan of like the Christmas horror genre. He hates seeing Santa Claus, horrified.
Bastardized. Yeah.
Yeah,
Got it.
he was not a fan, and I was
Fair.
like, I'm here for that. So anyway,
fair. I
But-
think
but
it's
we
neat. It's
like
always neat. It's always neat to have new people or people that are new to something, on a show like this, especially something that I've seen, a lot and everything, because this is one that, again, I feel like it winds up on like, the lists that, get
Yeah.
made by,
Mhm.
but nobody ever talks about it. And
Yeah.
if you go back and look, y'all, like 1986 was a banger year for movies anyway. And I've
Yes, it
grown
was.
Yeah.
up in it.
Mhm.
And this is one that was in a summer and fall of horror. Like there's some really good 1986 horror movies and sci-fi movies and stuff. And so I think this one gets a little buried underneath some of those sometimes because of that. But I think it's just as pivotal as all the rest of them. Like it belongs in the club is what I would say.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh,
the
I
band
agree.
you forgot at the festival,
Yeah.
it's really interesting for me. This was part of my personal journey with the movie, is that I just watched Terrifier 2. So I'm watching this on the heels of Terrifier
That's a
2.
whiplash, ain't it?
Wow,
That
that's
is
why you
whiplash.
said it's a journey. I get now. Yeah. You had to get in a different car.
I was going to say like
Continue.
less of a journey and more of a car accident. But
There you go.
Yeah.
we're going to get there.
Well, Liz, why don't you give us the plot summary for this then?
All right. Spoilers ahead. We spoil on this show too. So the movie opens with Jim Halsey, a young man headed from Chicago to San Diego, falling asleep at the wheel until he picks up a hitchhiker saying, "My mother told me never to do this." The hitchhiker, giving his name as John Ryder, seems nice enough until he calmly mentions that he cut off his last driver's legs and arms and head, and that he does indeed intend to do the same to Jim, who should have listened to his mother.
Mhm.
Ryder produces a switchblade knife and taunts Jim for several moments before Jim knocks him out of the car. Relieved, Jim continues on his journey until the Griswolds pass him. Jim is horrified to see that Ryder has hitched a ride with them and attempts to signal the family, but in Lampoon Vacation style, nearly gets hit by a bus. When he finally catches up to the station wagon, Jim discovers the entire family has been horribly mutilated by Ryder. We next find Jim trying to run away from Ryder in an extended chase sequence, but alas, wherever Jim runs, Ryder follows. And after narrowly escaping an exploding gas station, compliments of our new friend Ryder, Jim retreats to a roadside diner where he pleads with a new waitress named Nash to let him in, which she does. And while Jim calls the police, she makes a cheeseburger and finger fries in record time, saying it was the only thing she knew how to cook.
Ugh.
He eats until discovering that one of the fries is indeed a finger and attempts to flee again, but he's stopped by the police who arrest him, thinking that he might be responsible for the Dead Griswolds and co.
I'm sorry, the Dead Griswolds is a hell of a punk band, by the way.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, their hit song is "Should Have Rolled Them Up."
And their lead singer's Dick Deadmeat, Ron.
Yeah, Dick Deadmeat was the name I gave the boyfriend character in Terrifier 2.
It's the greatest fake name ever. But anyway, go ahead, Liz.
Well, later that day, Jim wakes up in his holding cell to find the door ajar and the officers dead. Naturally, he panics, steals a gun, and runs from the station as 5 police cars arrive. Jim's great decision-making skills don't stop there, though. He also takes 2 troopers hostage, forcing them to drive him away from the scene and get in touch with their captain. Jim pleads his case for innocence because nothing says innocent like someone who's taken 2 people hostage. And Ryder pulls up alongside the car, kills the hostage cops, and drives away. Jim wanders across the desert to another diner where he again is confronted by Ryder. He leaves the diner and sneaks onto a Greyhound bus where he runs into Nash, pulls her into the bus's bathroom, very romantic, and convinces her that he's innocent. Unfortunately, the bus is stopped and yet another arrest attempt is made on Jim. But Nash takes Jim's gun and pulls it on the officers, and she and Jim flee in a police car. Cue chase sequence plus a helicopter getting shot down. Jim and Nash find a motel to hide out in, and while he's taking a shower, Ryder breaks into the room, gets a little secret creepy spoon session, and then kidnaps Nash, later tying her between a Mack truck and its trailer. Ryder threatens to tear her in half if he doesn't get to speak to Jim, so the police enlist Jim to try to negotiate with Ryder. In the cab of the truck, Ryder demands that Jim shoot him. Jim refuses, and a furious Ryder hits the accelerator and kills Nash, after which police swarm the truck. At the station, the police are unable to find any information that could identify Ryder, and they arrange to have him transported for holding to a state prison. Ryder's shackled, chained, and placed in the back of a prison van. And it is at this point that Jim decides he does in fact want to try murdering Ryder after all, so he steals a gun and squad car. Cue another chase sequence. Then Ryder leaps off the back of the van, crashing through the front window of Jim's stolen squad car. But Jim slams on the brakes, throwing Ryder off. He's able to peel himself off the highway, pick up a shotgun, and fire at Jim. Jim avoids the gunshots, manages to get the car restarted, and plow into Ryder. He then slips out of the car, picks up the still loaded shotgun, and inspects Ryder's corpse. And I guess because he's never heard of a double tap, he assumes Ryder is dead. But he's wrong. Jim responds to Ryder's aliveness by emptying the remaining shotgun shells into Ryder's body, at last killing him, we think. We end with a silhouette of Jim lighting up a cigarette and watching the sunset over the horizon.
What a beautiful synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Oh, man. So a lot to talk about. And when I went in to start doing this plot, I was thinking, oh, this will be a short one because it's an 1.5-hour movie and I didn't feel like a lot happened. But boy, did so much happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a hallmark of this time period is you could cram a lot into 85 minutes. Like you really could, you know. And
like I said, already making the comparison, coming off of Terrifier 2, watching a really nice 85 to 90-minute movie, just so nice. With like actual stuff happening in it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's an explosion every 10 minutes. It's excellent.
Yeah, a lot less gory for sure.
Yeah. A lot more gory in places I wasn't expecting. I'll say that. That's the first time watching.
I feel like there's a few things I would have liked to seen a little more detail on, but that's because I have a gross curiosity for that.
Kendall, you bring up a really good point. I had that thought too. My gore threshold is pretty wide, but I do feel like I was missing something.
Well, when Nash dies, I was a little disappointed that we didn't get to see anything. It was all
it
done
was
off
literally
camera.
like a tenth of a second shot.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
all that build up for that?
Yeah. It was a really, interesting way to kill someone.
Oh, yeah.
In a movie. And it was disappointing that we didn't even see any like blood or guts or anything.
You can thank the producers for all of that because
Okay.
the original script from Eric Red is pretty much Terrifier on the road. It is one of the
Yeah.
goriest things, and it was floated around for years. And the eventual producer of this kind of hired him to keep rewriting it and keep cutting it here, there, whatever. And then the director they got was someone who had no intention of filming any of that gore. He believed very much in like the old like 60s and 70s suspense. Like what you think you see is more, than what you actually do see. And so what little blood you got in the movie was toned down even more. And it's supposed to be like an eyeball in the burger, and you're supposed to see the whole Griswold hack scene and all this stuff. And they just cut it all back because they were all, there's like a litany of people they said they cast for this. They had Sam Elliott to be writer, and they just couldn't get the money right for him.
Yeah.
But when they brought in
Love
Rutger
Sam
Hauer, C.
Elliott.
Thomas Howell to this day says, I was scared of that man. Like, and C. Thomas Howell about
I
all-
am too. Oh
Yeah,
my
but,
God, he's
Rutger Hauer's like, I
terrifying.
had no idea. Like, but he's just so intense. And
Mm-hmm.
and so when Rutger Hauer read it, he said, I wasn't really interested in playing a villain, but I felt like, well, this one's just too good. It's just too much fun. And so they just told him just to be more intense. So all the gore that you're wanting is some of it's in that remake if you haven't seen it. So if you want to see Nash pulled in half, there's the remake for you. Because the movie is a remake. It is
Okay, good.
you're gonna
Good
get,
to
there's a
know.
little twist to it, but
Yeah.
you're pretty much getting the movie again with a little more modern sensibility, or at least early 2000s sensibility. So there's a new metal soundtrack. Be prepared.
Oh,
and
that's my favorite. So
Yeah.
right? So yeah, you're right there. So and Sophia Bush is in it, so you can do a One Tree Hill situation.
And Sean Bean.
Right.
That was
I
what
think
sold
Jared
me.
Padalecki's the boyfriend, so you have a little supernatural action. Friday the 13th
hell yeah.
person,
what?
so
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
we're
in
off
it.
to watch the remake
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Neil McDonough is the cop.
Which he's not a villain for once in his life.
Yeah, the big
that was
piercing blue
shocking.
eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But all the gore that you may have wanted or thought was in this movie was in the script. They just kept cutting it back because it was a low budget and independent studio, and they were just afraid if we went too far on that, they would get the X rating, which would have killed them in the 80s. So they got it to where it would be where like teenagers like my brother could go see this movie, And so
I appreciate
there's-
it for what it is, though.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
There's no way Canon Films is going to get an X rating. The Golan and Globus would have called in all their favors, and
a lot of cocaine would have been involved.
yeah, of course.
As per the 80s.
I mean, as if it wasn't already with Golden Globus, but as a canon, situation. But no, I mean, but I remembered in my head though this movie was pretty violent, and watching it again, I'm like, oh, what I remember is what they intended me to remember was that intense, but it's actually not that violent.
It's more menacing, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, think about
Sinister.
1986. Y'all have covered a lot of movies from that era. I mean, there's some good blood and gore,
Oh, yeah.
We're a little bit before Hellraiser, but we've already had some Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street action. So those got increasingly gory. And you had all of the wake of slashers, in the wake of Halloween and Friday the 13th. And they were really adamant. The director was like, he just didn't want to make it a slasher. Which is funny.
Well,
that this would get thrown
too
in that
bad,
same
because
pile.
that's what it is.
I mean,
you
I was
know?
like, but
Yeah.
but the guy has a knife and he cuts people, bro. Like that's kind of the definition
And he's
of a
stalking someone, like it's literally a slasher.
right?
Yeah. And he doesn't really have motive aside from just wanting to kill people, which is very slashery.
I never would have thought of this as a slasher, but you're absolutely right. It is. We have this discussion all the time,
my God,
and just did.
Yeah.
And no, you're right. When you said that, I was like, if you write it all down in bullet points, it's a slasher, and I love that.
Speaking of the the killer's like his point, why is he doing it? It's implied that he's supernatural in some way, right? Like
I had that same question because
Yeah.
I wrote
He
that
keeps-
thing at the end that there's that theory that like it's just Jim and
Yeah, I
his
didn't even
disassociative
think
because
about that
Ryder
when I
just
read
shows
that.
up wherever he
Yeah.
is.
I have
Yeah.
a very specific question. So there's the
Mhm.
scene in the diner when he puts coins on his eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And is that like a reference to what is it? I'm going to mispronounce this. Is it Charon, the ferryman on the River Styx?
Yeah.
Like, is
Yeah.
he Death or is he the ferryman? Is that what we're supposed to like connect that to?
Ooh.
I
I think you
can't tell
maybe.
you, like, I can't make that connection.
Mhm.
But I can definitely tell you that the Coen brothers watched the shit out of this movie for
Yes.
No Country for Old Men. 'Cause-
Well,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I definitely see the connection there for sure.
Mhm.
I'll go one further. I think they watched the hell out of it with Blood Simple too. Like these
100%.
like if you want to do a twofer, you could watch Blood Simple and this, and yeah, they would work together. So
But that's a completely different podcast, Jay. That's
That's Schlock and
Schlock and
Awe.
Aw's thing, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Which I really need to get on that show at some point, but I don't have any really good double features. I gotta work on
Neither do I, and I keep getting invited back. So yeah, just
it.
so, but I love that idea though of like, is he supernatural or not? Because I think you could read this movie that yes, very much he is like the embodiment of death.
Yeah.
And this just random guy. And I think you could read it in that way, at least the way I do, is when he's telling Jim, like, I want you to stop me. It's the last little shred of whoever that guy was before this thing took him over. It's like, please
Right.
let it end.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah, because he asks him multiple times, really. He's
Yeah.
like begging him.
yeah, well, I mean, it's one of the few like poignant scenes in the movie Silver Bullet where Everett McGill is having this nightmares about being a werewolf. If y'all haven't seen what I'm talking about, you know where I am. But he wakes up and says, like, God, please let it end. And it's like, oh, this guy knows he is. He just doesn't want to be that. And I'm like, oh, maybe John Ryder was a real person who got possessed by whatever this is and just really wants it to end.
I don't know. I feel like he enjoys it too much. I feel like he loves his job.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, it's.
If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
in your eternal life.
This movie is sponsored by Indeed. No, but I do like that twist. But I love how we were introduced to him. And I don't know if y'all have ever driven across Texas, but I've actually driven across West Texas before.
Times.
And it is as flat as this. And it's just
It's
hours
so boring.
of nothing. Yes, hours of nothing. You know, and then these little towns pop up, and it's. But I love how we're introduced to him in this rainstorm. You know, because when it does rain in Texas, I mean, it is literally just out of a boot. You know, it's a torrential downpour.
Yeah,
and Rutger Hauer looks so good standing in the rain. Like he's done it so many times.
This movie is shot beautifully.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful movie, like just visually.
I give a lot of that to Robert Harmon, the director, because he was a still photographer and did nature.
Oh,
work,
that makes sense.
And
that does make sense.
You know, became a cameraman and worked his way up. But yeah, I mean, for an $8 million movie, which isn't a lot of money even in 1986. I mean, it looks better than it has any right looking because they.
Oh yeah, he squeezed the shit out of that $8 million for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they lit it right. You know, they got the right stuff, and it's also the darks. Like when they're in that car, that Oldsmobile Buick or old Cadillac, whatever they're driving.
And that first moment when his face is lit up, oh, it's so nice.
It's just the dashboard light almost, right?
Yeah,
it's very very spooky. You know?
You know, it's funny you mentioned like the cinematography of this movie, Jay, because I looked up the guy the cinematographer, John Seale, and he's one of those dudes who got his start doing movies in Australia in the big Ozploitation boom, and he is the dude who was the DP for Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh,
okay, that explains so much.
Explains a ton about what this movie looks like.
He knows how to shoot a landscape.
He did Talented Mr. Ripley, so he knows how to do how to light creepifying shit.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm going back through his filmography here, and it's like, oh, these are all like great movies, and then also BMX Bandits.
Oh, well,
Hey, that is a stay tuned here on Filmstrip. I just want to say
100%.
that right
That's why I
now.
shouted it out. But
Yeah.
And all the movies that he did, like even the ones that he was the cinematographer for Gorillas in the Mist, which is a beautiful looking movie.
Yeah, for sure.
And
he knows what he's doing.
He definitely knows what he's doing, and it really works in this movie because it makes the already huge like landscape of Texas feel even more massive. You've just got the little Oldsmobile, as Jade calls it.
Yeah, it feels
like,
hopeless almost.
going over the two hills that exist in that part of Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And the way they catch the heat shimmer, just chef's kiss.
It's almost as good as Mike Marvin's work in The Wraith, which is another 86, 87 horror sci-fi. Maybe it's supernatural. If y'all haven't seen that, Misty and Kendall, I recommend it. It's some prime Charlie Sheen. It almost got him fired from Platoon for doing it for the 2 weekends he was there. But
we're in.
But it's another one of those where that's all shot like in Arizona, and it makes a great use of that painted desert, and all that landscape. And again, West Texas has a look to it that is only West Texas.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
yeah. And I love the way it all comes together, because there's a bleakness to that scenery that I feel like just hangs over this movie anyway, right?
Yeah, it's so wide open, but you also feel really claustrophobic. Like, he cannot escape. He's fated. He can't get out of it.
I mean, literally, you have all this open road, all this open town in front of you, and everywhere he goes, this motherfucker walks in right behind you.
Yep.
Usually with blood,
or gasoline.
Well, it's almost like he is the Grim Reaper, though, because everywhere he goes, it's just this death, and it's.
I like that theory. I didn't think at all about him being supernatural, and I didn't think about it being a part of Jim kind of hallucinating it until you brought it up. But
I didn't think that either.
Mm-hmm. But now I don't have an answer in my head, and I think that's kind of cool. I like when movies sort of leave it up to you. It's frustrating, but also in a satisfying way at the same time.
Yeah.
The only thing that pokes the holes in the fact that it's Jim, unless you just fully think this is all in Jim's head anyway, is that other people acknowledge and talk to Ryder.
Yeah, I thought that too. Yeah.
Or especially the death scene for Nash. Like, he's got to get into the cab with him. He's already in the truck. Which, can I mention something about that scene, please?
Yes.
Could no one have cut the ropes?
Right? Yeah.
That's my only question. Like,
well, the issue is if you get every time anybody got close to it, he would start to.
But when Pony Boy is in the cab with him, like, he's distracted, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but this feels. Does this not feel like a sequel to The Outsiders?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. He's always Pony Boy.
He's still Pony Boy.
Yeah, always. It was literally like 2 years after Outsiders. I think that was done in 84.
Yeah, it was Red Dawn, Outsiders, and then Thomas Howell picked this to do something different. So.
There was totally some Red Dawn. There was some Red Dawn in there too. Them walking like with the horizon. Like, I felt very Red Dawn there as well.
Especially the end when Jim's so bleak too, because if the Robert character in that original Red Dawn is really, really tragic, and just to watch him completely fall apart and become a monster, as it were. And you see Jim do that too. That's what's neat about it. But I'm with you, Misty. Like, no one's gonna sconch the wheels. Like, we could take care of that.
We got options, like, for real.
Yeah, he might just drag her a little bit, but like, we cut one end of those. So, she's from Texas. She's tough as hell, probably anyway.
Right.
She worked at that diner. I'm sure.
Exactly. She can defend herself.
Yeah, she had a few broken bottles in her face in her day.
Something else that bothered me was the fact that with the Griswolds, they let a strange man in their car with children
to play with the kids, right?
In the back seat, like kissing.
And he's like kissing her. Oh my god!
I was appalled. That's probably the most shocking part of this whole movie for me. I was so upset about that. No way, like, that's, you just wanted to get murdered on the side of the road.
So I have a theory on them that I'll just put out to everybody. That they're like this super religious family, and they decide that it's like their Christian duty to take this man in, and they're like trying to witness to him the whole time. That's why.
Oh, excellent. Yeah,
I like this theory.
I love that.
That's at least an explanation for why the hell they'd pick that crazy looking man up off the side of the road.
They're either Baptists or Mormons. Pick.
100%
for sure.
Totally Baptist.
Yeah, I'm not wrong. Y'all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you see somebody who looks like Rutger Hauer on the side of the road, you're not going to stop.
Nowadays, no. I don't care what
and
year it is.
And if you like slow down once he looks at you with those creepy
The
eyes,
eyes.
you're stepping on the gas
Oh
and
yeah, no.
you're
Nope.
burning rubber.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
That man's eyes do so much work for him.
I can only
Oh,
think
yeah.
of Blade Runner when I look at that man. Like oh my God, he's so terrifying.
He really is. And he
Yeah.
has that like shit-eating grin too, just
Oh,
kind of like
yeah.
sly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's perfect for a murderer, serial killer. Like he's charismatic.
Has
He's
anyone
welcoming.
seen Channel Zero? Does anyone watch Channel Zero?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember him in Channel Zero?
Yes,
Oh,
yes. Actually, a really good season of it. Yeah.
What was it? Butcher. I don't remember the name of the season, but playing himself. I think he is just this person in real life, or was R.I.P.
Yeah. What's so great about his charisma is the way he just deadpans those lines. Like, I cut off his legs and his
Yeah.
feet and his hands and his head. And I'm gonna do the same thing to you. You know, it's just so,
like it's a rehearse, like a
Yeah,
speech.
he
got
said it
ready.
already. Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that scene in the car because I like that the movie just got into it almost immediately. Like you're already tense, you know what you're getting into pretty much. Like, you know, this guy is bad news. But like the whole time I'm like, when is the shoe going to drop? Like, what's going to happen? When is it going to happen? Like they did a great job setting up the tension for that.
Yeah, and then he kicks him out of the car, and you think, we're done.
Yeah, look what happens now.
Like, no, we're only 10 minutes in. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'll give Ponyboy some flowers too, because I feel like C. Thomas Howell's like grave expression, like the color runs out of the man's face on screen. And
he's great in this.
He did a great job.
That was some good acting shit. I was like that, and maybe he was really terrified because I might be too.
Well, I know like the scene where he's holding the knife up to his eye. That was improvised
he knew that was happening.
by Rutger. So that was genuine terror on his part.
What a terrifying thing to improvise.
Yeah, a knife to the eyeball.
And you know we didn't warn him. You know he just did it.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what you get, that great reaction. It's the same of when they dropped Alan Rickman on 2 instead of 3, you know. So you see that great look, like, you motherfucker, to John McTiernan at the end of Die Hard. So, you know, but that's a great. You will never forget Hans's face. So, you know, for that reason, because it's genuine terror. So, but no, I love too that Jim has that fight and flight response at the same time.
Yeah,
he's like, no, I know this car. I'm gonna throw this car. This is the other thing too, is like the idea of someone driving a car 2,200 miles to drop it off for somebody else. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess those cars lasted forever, so you could do that back then.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, gas was like 75 cents a gallon.
That's
maybe,
true.
You know, so you can pull that stuff off, but I mean, I like the whole setup of them because it's somebody who was definitely trying to get away from something and was in the middle of damn nowhere.
Yeah.
And he runs into the devil on the road. Like, what
the worst possible situation you can.
Yeah, it's honestly a nightmare.
And he invites it into his car.
I was just going to say, and he picks him up.
Mm-hmm.
He picks this guy up in the dark. So
in the dark, in a storm.
At like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It is like
my
3 or 4
mom told me
a.m.
not to do this.
Yeah, famous last words for real.
A big grin on his face. So let's talk about his little character arc here, Mr. Jim, because I feel like at the beginning, I was going to say he was kind of a weenie, but not really, because he did kick the guy out of his car.
Yeah.
He had enough to, you know, about him to do that.
Yeah.
And then to the point at the very end where we've got this iconic cowboy shot, you know, silhouetted,
walking into the sunset.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel he has these really meek moments where he just fully freaks out, and then this big change of heart where he's like, no, just kidding.
Well, I think that's why he survives, is that combination of fight and flight. Like he's got their survival instinct. So he knows he needs to get away from this man, but somehow also has the strength and wherewithal to battle him. Yeah.
Well, I mean, C. Thomas Howell, especially in this point of his life, was always playing somebody who was really sweet, had a good heart.
Yes.
Right? You know, and so he's almost playing against his own type, in that how do we make the boy next door become the monster.
Yeah.
And through this, because we've already kind of seen it with Red Dawn, but the situation was like, well, if the Russians attack, we might all get a little fierce, like that,
Right.
fair. Let's set that aside. So if we don't have that fantastical element, what if you met Satan on the road? And he slaughtered people in front of you?
What if?
That might make you a little edgy, but I love that they do it. And this is good film grammar again, for a movie with people who were brand new. They didn't really know what they were doing. This is Robert Harmon's first movie.
Yeah.
And stuff. The more we go through Jim's trial, the more disheveled he gets and the more fried he gets. And you can just see him. He's just, he's already tired when we meet him.
Oh, exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah. He's 4 a.m. He's smoking cigarettes, trying to listen to Coast to Coast AM, stay awake. He's hearing about the damn lizard people or whatever. And then he picks one up.
Yeah, he does. He's absolutely a reptilian.
Yeah. But he gets so disheveled and just so grimy. Like if you've done that part of West Texas, you've been through that, you can't help but have dirt all over you. It's just in the air.
It sticks to you.
Yeah, and I love how he just gets dirtier and dirtier as he
you really feel like the weather in this movie, like the humidity and the heat and the dust and
everyone is very
disgusting.
Sweaty at all times.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, you could smell it.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, this has like Texas Chainsaw Massacre levels of back sweat.
Oh yeah, for
sure. Each one of those cops when they took off their detective blazers or whatever, just like drenched.
It's like
that one wearing a white shirt, he was just testing fate. I don't know what that was all about. So but I mean, maybe it was laundry day. I don't know, but no. I mean, I love though that it is, and it's also every young person's fear is that if you ever got into this ridiculous situation, who's going to help you? Nobody. And they don't. They're horrible. And I mean, on one hand, they're like going, yeah, this random dude that nobody's seen is killing everybody, or maybe you.
Yeah.
So
because the cops continuously arresting him is so strange. Like, why does that keep happening?
And it's like they don't even believe that he did it, but they're just keeping him just in case.
Like, what evidence do you have?
Yeah, like
you'll wait 24 hours.
We'll keep you just in case we're wrong. That I don't think that's right.
The only evidence you need to hold him is the fact that he's from Chicago and he's driving through Texas.
He's through Texas. Yeah, absolutely right. He's got out-of-state plates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Going to California.
Oh, that's the killer.
California. Okay.
Straight to jail.
Exactly.
Yeah, but before this part of Texas became California Junior.
I think this is far enough from Boston. This is out like in Midland, Odessa, man. This is where Friday Night Lights was made. This is what this is. So out in that area, but I do like his art, because the thing about Ryder is, in all the crazy stuff he goes through, he doesn't really change. He's either wet or he's dry, but he's pretty much always the same.
He's always very awake and excited to stab someone. It's what he is.
Super stabby caffeine man.
Yes.
Well, this is back in the 80s. You could probably still get the good pet pills at the truck stop.
True.
Oh, right.
Yeah, them Wake Aid things that were all over the
not ephedra free.
Oh yeah, before they took all the good stuff out.
Yeah.
No
he was
dose.
definitely. I mean, this is the kind of guy that if you've seen The Wraith, is probably doing the same stuff Skank's doing in there. He's sniffing up, WD-40 and you got some kit, whatever, just keep stuff going. But again, the wild part about Ryder is that he's almost like Hannibal Lecter. His blood pressure never seems to really get above 85.
He's always cool as a cucumber, isn't he?
Ooh, that's a really good comparison. That's what makes him so scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's never in a hurt. Like, he's always just where he needs to be when he needs to be there. That's why I just think there's a supernatural. Like, you can't.
Yeah, he doesn't run. Just like a good slasher, he just walks and
glides. I wonder how he glides as a person anyway. He just sort of
Oh, it's so creepy.
Yeah, he's a ghost, and in his own, like, every performance.
I'm telling you, that's just him as a person.
Yeah, that was him. That's who Rutger was. Yeah, but he's done it. I mean, all of his career, you go back and watch him, he just sort of smoothly just lays through there. It's like an easy little wind.
And I like that they don't explain how he's able to, like, keep track of this kid.
Yes.
Admittedly, there's one road everyone's driving on the one road, so that it can't be that hard to
Yeah.
keep track of it.
Yeah,
But also, like, you never see him like listening to a police band radio or doing
No.
anything like that. And I feel like in a modern take on this, there would be some sort of like, well, he's got tracking him through his Find My
His
iPhone. Or
iPhone. Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of how like a modern day version of this movie, if it would work. And I think totally they could. I mean, with cell phones, you just throw it out the window or break it or,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. But I definitely think it
He's
would work.
tracking him through his Cricket wireless walk-in.
yeah, there you go.
his dial-up AOL.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was neat to see because I was watching this with my wife, and like when somebody runs up and grabs a payphone, I was like, "Oh, how quaint!" We used to all just keep change in our ashtray or next to it, just in case
I
somebody
still
came.
do. It's like a little treat, like as a little reminder.
We call it the silver stash, so you never know when you'll need it for like a toll or whatever. But I mean,
Laundromat,
really,
who knows?
it's just
Yeah,
that
Aldi.
a lot of coins.
Your Aldi card.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah, that's your Aldi card. Or,
Mhm.
But I mean, really, I love that there's all that like very anachronistic '80s stuff in this, but this movie also doesn't feel incredibly dated.
It does
Like
not.
I don't miss the tech or
No.
any of that stuff. So.
Mm-mm.
It really holds up. It really does.
And also, let's be honest, in this part of Texas, you're not getting cell reception anyway.
No,
Oh,
you wouldn't-
yeah.
just
Yeah,
wouldn't have any-
totally.
I mean, the moment you put up a cell tower, it's going to be besieged by the local birds as the only tall thing in town.
Yes.
So you're just going to like fry a bunch of pigeons or whatever.
Well, am I not mistaken? But when he makes a phone call at the diner, doesn't he have to like talk to the operator to get connected to somebody? It's like Mayberry. It's like, Sarah, can you, ring Sheriff?
Everyone
Taylor
knows
for me?
Nash. They know each other by name.
Yeah,
So,
there's like a population of 20 in this
literally,
town.
and we
Yeah.
saw all of them.
Yep.
Mhm.
And half
They're
of them
all
are
in the police
force.
I was
department.
gonna
exactly.
say.
Yeah.
And now
What-
they're all dead.
Yeah.
so.
What did y'all make of the Nash character though? I've just heard everybody
Okay,
spin on her.
her accent really, really, really bothered me. I'm not the
bad,
world's
isn't
biggest fan of hers.
Have you seen her in Hateful Eight in that accent that she does in there? Yeah.
I
See.
just think she does it on purpose.
Yeah.
I think she does it on purpose, and everybody lets her get away with it. So that's what we get.
Yeah, she was just kind of, I didn't really care much about her. I also don't understand why she went with Jim at all. Like,
I think
literally
she was
just
desperate to get out of that shitty little town, and
what a way
so
to get out.
Why not jump in the car with a possible murderer? I don't know. I mean, is she gonna get another chance? Maybe not. Got to take it.
There's something about the way he charms her. It lends to the theory that like maybe him and Ryder are the same, in some way.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can play
yeah.
that because I mean she's on the bus to get the hell out of town. When he just encounters her again, it's like he collects her there, and
Yeah.
and for whatever reason she's just drawn into it. I didn't get it either. It's the sticking point of the movie that I just can never get around. Is I feel like Jennifer Jason Leigh gives a kind of a bad performance and
Yeah,
doesn't
it's not
seem to
great.
really. And I want to give her credit. I don't think they gave her a lot either, so it's not
No.
like a character that has a ton of agency anyway. But it's hard for me to feel bad for her other than just another human getting torn apart. And I'm like, well, he met her at a diner like a day ago, man. Like,
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
very 2D. She's just written as a pawn, basically, just to get the two of them back together in the cab of that truck. Like, that's
Honestly.
her
Mhm.
purpose.
So I will say the creepiest moment for me in this entire movie
I knew what you
was
were saying.
when she gets spooned by Ryder.
gross. I
I
And he
knew
just
you were going to
sneaks-
say that.
I saw that happen and I was
Yeah.
like, no. And
Oh,
she
yeah.
like,
He's like-
reaches up and touches his hand, and that's when
Yeah.
he realized, like, that's when she realizes.
It doesn't
this
he like
isn't-
smell her first, and then he just like
Oh,
It's very creepy and drawn out. That
Yeah.
whole,
it is.
yeah.
it's so
But
nasty.
like, so uncomfortable. I didn't think it was too drawn out, but we were towing the line. But it
It-
was.
It was enough to make it tense, but yeah.
I will give this movie credit though that her and Jim don't hook up. Like in the 80s, that
Yes,
was the
I was waiting
thing.
for that to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool,
Mhm.
we're in the motel. I know what's about to
Yeah.
occur.
Me too.
And the fact
With
that
the cheesy
don't...
saxophone music's about to kick
Exactly.
in.
Yes.
And then,
yes.
if he had the raw sexual magnetism of a Tom Atkins, different movie. But it's just C. Thomas Howell. Come on.
C. Thomas Howell's
Aw,
and
it's
Dr.
just Pony
Chalice.
Boy.
I love Pony Boy and obviously in The Outsiders. I love that movie. But C. Thomas Howell never really did it for me in anything else. But I really liked his performance in this. I think because when I found out it was him in it, I was like, oh, I don't know. I feel like that's going to ruin it. But he did a great job. I was actually really surprised.
Yeah, he gives you a lot to go from, because again, he goes from sort of an innocent boy next door who's just trying to, he's trying to get to California. So this is a good excuse. He's been waiting for months to get on the driveway. And then the worst possible thing that could happen happens. Like literally the worst thing that could happen.
Who would have thought this would have happened?
Yeah. And he's completely broken at the end of the movie. That's the thing.
He's just haggard.
He's
thing.
just totally destroyed at the. But I mean, he, like I say, he gets arrested so many times it's hard to keep up with. The second time he wakes up and like it's Halloween 4 or 5 in the cop place where everybody's killed.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Or maybe Terminator.
And his jail cell's unlocked. So did old boy just come in and kill everyone, unlock his jail cell and just leave?
And he didn't wake up.
Yeah. That is an interesting point. Going back to this, like, Ryder and Jim are the same.
Yeah, it's very Fight Club.
Because he could have, just killed everyone, took a nap, and woke up and forgot. I don't know. It's very interesting, but I liked that scene because it's the gore that I wanted the rest to have.
It's the atmosphere, because again, there's not a real score. It's just these atonal, very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
in this, but it's almost the shock that would be in your brain if you woke up and saw the carnage like that.
Yeah.
Oh God, now I'm really in it.
Now I'm going to jail forever.
I'm really going to jail now. I don't
For real this time.
I killed Texas cops. I'm so super dead. It's not funny.
He should just locked himself back in that jail cell.
Just turned around. Boop.
I didn't
Jar
do
Binks. We're done. I'm done.
Yeah.
My fingers are going to be in someone's breakfast tomorrow morning.
Yes.
I'm just sitting here while you guys were talking. I'm zoning out because I was rewriting Tom's Diner, but to be about the Hitcher in my head.
Yes.
I am sitting in the diner, and then in walks Rutger Hauer. That kind of thing.
Yes. I love that.
Finish that, please.
I feel like the second musical plot summary in film history almost just happened. And
this is going to be the first song by the Dead Griswolds.
There you go.
Thank you, Lindsey.
So much.
Way
That's
to tie
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem. Here all night, folks.
No call it, and the title will be Nash's Diner.
There you go. That's perfect.
Yep.
That's
Copywritten. No one steal that.
Yeah.
Yeah. TM.
Still totally right
TM,
here.
TM.
Everyone here, this is all of our thing. So yeah. No, it is neat to watch him again, like say, sort of devolve or whatever, even though the Nash character doesn't give us a lot. She is something that can at least bring him back down to earth. I think is what her purpose is. It's just kind of recenter, like, oh, there are real people out here, and I need to not.
That's a good concept because he never loses his humanity. Like he holds on to it, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's what's holding him here.
Yeah,
till she gets her hands ripped off.
Yeah, till she's turned into hamburger meat.
Right.
We'll never know exactly what happened,
right?
To her body, because they didn't show it.
Oh, Kendall, I want you to go watch that remake right now.
I almost, like, when I watched this movie, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, and I was like, I want to watch the remake right now. And
I'm sure if you would have had time, you would have absolutely done it.
Absolutely. I thought about it, but I tried making time, but I didn't. But yeah, I want to. I'm glad to know that it's better. And see, that is the kind of stuff I look for, but the finger and the fries almost made me puke.
Yeah.
I don't do stuff like that. Like I had a really visceral reaction to the Rat and Julia Stiles smoothie in Orphan First Kill. Like for weeks, I would think about it and just like retch. And I can't do stuff like that, but I can do like Art the Clown playing with the organs.
Right,
And
Kendall,
I love that.
Your brain.
But
it doesn't make any sense.
If it's in food, definitely a no.
Yeah, if I'm ingesting it, absolutely not.
Okay.
Or if someone else is ingesting it, I don't want to look at it.
C. Thomas Howell does a lot of vomiting in this movie.
Yes, a lot of pee
Way
soup.
more gagging and vomiting than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
I think that's supposed to show again, though, that he is someone relatable, because you think you would have the strongest stomach in the world until you actually see things you've never seen. And he's not this monster. It's supposed to give us on his side. That's how I've always read it. I mean, I think I might retch if I walked upon the dead Griswolds.
Maybe he's just got really bad allergies like I do, and that's just how he starts.
The dust.
Also, could be. Yeah. I mean, he's going from Chicago to.
I mean, that's me every day. So, what are you going to do?
Just retching.
Just retch.
But I can't remember, did he vomit when he touched the finger in the fries?
Yeah, he ran out of the diner.
I couldn't remember
the first time.
Yeah.
See, that makes sense.
Does that on the first murder scene? So,
I remember with the Griswolds, because I would have done the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's when he leaves Miracle Mile and he runs out into First Blood.
Yes.
Vomiting the whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely.
I mean, I would gag if I found a hair in my food. So finding a finger in my food, probably.
I can't even think about that.
Maybe not the hair.
Misty,
a finger, I would be really confused. But
a finger wouldn't make you.
I would have a lot of questions.
Just be like, oh, it's a finger.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, butchers lose their fingers all the time. So
yeah.
Is it a clean?
But they do have to wear hairnets.
Like, is it a clean finger? Has it been washed?
Yeah.
That finger did not look
I would
clean.
worry if it were clean and washed.
That finger looked pretty dirty.
It did.
That finger looks like.
Where did it come from, by the way? How did he get it in there?
I was guessing like somebody working out back of the garage or something like that. Like Michael Myers, he gave Michael Myers a jumpsuit and said, "I'm taking the fingers."
Oh, good pull, Misty. Yeah, the cook.
It could have been the cook.
But
the private counsel that never showed up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But how did Nash, who made the food, end up with a finger in the fries?
Yeah, between there and
so
the
for a second, I was like, "Oh, Nash is." Yeah, I was like, "Oh, Nash is definitely in on
that."
This.
Was my first thought too.
So this is what makes the writer character so fun to think about as like the Grim Reaper or something possessed, because it gives him limited magical powers, but he can pop in and out and do these kinds of things.
He can teleport. He has to be able to teleport, and he has a magic truck. I don't know.
Yeah, I like it though, because it's the perfect actor to play that kind of thing.
100%.
Yeah, because it just makes it so much more fun when he finally does get cornered. And what's wild, I mean, the part with Nash, like there's the three scenes where him and Jim are really sitting and talking to each other, and things like that. There's the first car
gun
scene. Yeah. And then there's the gun scene, and he says, I know there's no bullets in that gun. And he leaves them on the table for him.
Yeah.
And then
he gives him like his own his own death. Like he gives that to him.
And he won't do it. And then when he's got him in the truck and it's against that darkly lit and he's playing with that clutch and he's just about to rip Jennifer Jason Leigh in half and and all this stuff. And you're just waiting. And the look on his face of like disgusted disappointment. Yeah. When he won't do it.
Because it's like the third time he's asked him. He's like, you still don't get it.
Yeah. It's such a like, I can't be evil like you, Dad, but whatever. That's C. Thomas Howell played it that way, but he's just like, he
for
just
such a as Kendall and I would call a dad movie.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly deep if you really just sit there and think about all these things. Like there's so much more to the script than explosions, although the explosions are incredible.
Yeah, that's part of what makes it a dad movie, I think. Very action packed.
Yeah, I feel like for like our Shocktober here, because we've had Purge election year, which is like an action movie with a little bit of tension, and a lot of comedy, unintentional and otherwise. Maybe the best needle drop of a Miley Cyrus song ever, though, as we discussed. Then you have the like ethereal thinking movie Us, Jordan Peele, right? And then you've got Terrifier, which is just gore unleashed for no fucking purpose for 2 hours and a badass synth soundtrack.
2 hours and 15 minutes, Jack. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Not that you're counting. But then you have this thing, which is before all of it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's almost like it's got a piece of every one of those movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hanging in its DNA. And it's almost like it's the little Superman Codex DNA of all those movies.
I like that. Yeah, you're right.
Including like the baby synth soundtrack. It's almost there.
Yeah, it's just there enough. It's like that cheap Casio that somebody had in the back.
Exactly.
But, I mean, really, it's there. It's like all of it's there. All the little pieces, the unlikely heroine, the supernatural villain, we're not going to explain it. We're going to explain enough of it for you to not know.
Yep.
You know, and then explosions, which is the purge part.
Yeah.
Helicopter explosions. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When you shoot a helicopter down. Oh, yeah. No, we're in the 80s.
That's where the $8 million went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering about the $8 million because I realized that even then it wasn't much for a movie. But there wasn't a ton in the movie. So where did the money go? Because really they're just driving beaters around the desert and blowing up gas stations. Maybe the gas station. Maybe
I figured the stunts.
Explosions.
All the stunts and all the explosions.
The helicopter.
It's all the big.
I did forget about the helicopter. That would have been an expensive, expensive effect.
Yeah. I mean, they spent every dime of it is on the screen. Like there's nobody sitting around on top of the Scrooge McDucking in that.
Oh no, not at all.
No.
Yeah, this movie is definitely, it's not After Last Season where somebody's sitting on $5 million somehow, after that, or they were after that. I mean, you see it on the screen, but I just chalk it up to the vast amount of practical effects in this movie. They're all very real. So,
and shout out to this movie for crediting the stuntmen in the main cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bravo.
They didn't stick them into, stunt purgatory. They were right there with the main cast, and it's full credit to this movie for like being well ahead
very
of the
commendable.
time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's rare to find. So, like Hal Needham may have been the only other person that would do it, because he himself was from that ilk. But
why do you all think this movie didn't hit that hard in 1986? Like when it came out?
I think Jay made a good point when he said that it kind of got buried with, we're at like the peak of horror, really. And everybody's just practical effects galore. And just so many amazing movies came out during that period.
And it teeters the line on horror too. It's action, it's kind of more thriller. And then even not just like the peak of horror, but like the movies that came out from 85 to 89, just in general, were amazing. And also I don't know if C. Thomas Howell was really that big of a draw back then.
Yeah, I do wonder that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this movie came out in the spring, so
man, this would be the perfect summer movie.
Yeah. And I think because they knew things like, Top Gun was coming, and
the blockbusters,
all these other things. But it's a movie that got stuck in with things like, you've got 9.5 Weeks, which is a great movie. Terror Vision came out at the same time, which was a cult hit. You got Quicksilver, which was a big deal for Kevin Bacon at the time.
Yeah.
You got the big action movie, The Delta Force, out. You've got it was a big deal for Rob Lowe to do this movie called Youngblood. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like a hockey movie. You talk about random sex scenes that make no sense. There's one. But
well, you just said Rob Lowe, so
always.
There you go. I just said
always naked.
So, yeah.
Yep.
It's on the same heels of all that, but it got dumped in March. And then you had everything that came after it, which includes stuff like Aliens and Critters and
it's
Top Gun.
doomed,
Yeah. It's like it got dropped in the spring and people forgot about it, and then you went on into the rest of the year. You had massive hits that summer. Short Circuit was a huge hit. A previous movie we've done, Ron Cobra, came out that summer and it did pretty good. But you had Invaders from Mars, which was a huge. I saw that in theaters, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And
it's
all
weird because when you look at like the critic reception, they all talk about how it's grisly and gross and unappealing and all these things, but like the producers have just straight out said, we think this movie wasn't as successful as it should have been because we held back on the violence and we should have shown Nash getting ripped apart.
Yeah.
They should have gone with the original script where it's just like a bloodbath on every page.
I think so too.
I really wish they would have.
If you'd thrown this out at the end of August instead of the middle of March,
when you can really feel that. Feel the movie.
And you put that gore back in it, I think you're onto something, Ron. Yeah.
And it's, they didn't have to do too much more. Like, show the Griswolds and show Nash. That's all I want. That's all I wanted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dead Griswolds and Nash.
Yeah.
You get to see Sean Bean do it soon.
Yeah.
Mannequins covered in corn syrup.
Yeah, you don't even have to show any of the grisly stuff. Just show us the aftermath like you did at the police station.
Exactly.
They didn't even show us like the Griswold part was kind of just brushed over, which I get because of the children, but
maybe
the blood dripping from the car was a nice touch.
You call Mark Harmon and you tell him, bring those two kids in your summer school class, Chainsaw and Dave over here. We just need 2 pickup shots. And we're done for the day. I'm so glad y'all get that joke. But I mean, really, like that's what you need in this. I think that's my theory, is that it got dumped in the spring and it should have been a late summer, early fall movie. And I think because on the wave of everything that had come, all the horror that was there, it would have like landed right in the middle of it. Because by then it was on HBO. It was a home. So. And like Ron and I and other people, I think that's how it found its way, was people would see that come on. And I mean, the first 5 minutes of this movie absolutely grab you. So if you get there, you're
I love that there's no setup. It's just you're immediately scared and tense. Like
we don't have to watch John Ryder sitting in the damn laundromat.
I know why. I know why Ponyboy's driving that car immediately. I know everything about his character within the first 2 minutes of the movie. There needs to be no setup, and then you pick up that crazy asshole off the side of the road and know exactly what he's about too.
Yeah.
Well, it's the efficiency and and it's something that I just miss so much. And I feel like I don't want to completely blame movies, because the best storytelling the last 20 years has been on episodic television. So they're trying to put that in these movies,
but there's
and it just
so much
bloats
exposition now. Like it's like they automatically just assume the audience is stupid and needs it, like so much explanation for everything.
Yeah. I lay every bit of that at the feet of Aaron Sorkin, who has ruined people for years with that walk and talk exposition dump stuff. I swear he did not intend to create that, I don't think, but he did. Well, now everyone.
Thanks a lot, Aaron Sorkin.
Exactly.
It's all Aaron Sorkin's fault.
One of the many things you can blame him for.
I mean, do you want me to start on A Few Good Men? Because I got all night. So,
oh man, that's another dad movie I love.
That's a total dad movie. But man, if you watch it now, you're like, oh god, this movie makes no fucking sense at all. Everybody in it is stupid.
But everyone's just yelling.
Yes,
it's all adult men yelling.
Even Kevin Pollak yelling, who steals the movie in some ways, yelling at people. When he and Demi Moore start yelling at each other in that empty courtroom. But yeah, anyway, speaking of dad jokes, but on TNT, The Hitcher, followed by A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men.
And then reruns of Seinfeld till midnight. And The Big Bang Theory till tomorrow morning.
Oh, no.
We've gone total there. Well, if it's
I think it was Star Trek before Seinfeld.
Yeah. Well, the full Dado movie would be a Clint Eastwood joint somewhere in here, like The Gauntlet. But not one of the ones like Firefox, The Gauntlet.
You got to throw Shawshank in there, though.
Yeah. Bring everybody down.
Every Sunday. Shawshank
every Sunday. Yeah.
What's the Clint Eastwood movie where he plays Gunnery Sergeant Highway?
That is Heartbreak Ridge.
Perfect. That's your
God, I know
that's
that.
that's your dad core movie
Dad
of the day.
core.
Mario Van Peebles in the same year as in a Clint Eastwood Invade Grenada movie and Jaws: The Fucking Revenge.
Hell yeah.
I
The
feel like
sexiest shark movie ever.
You talk
think-
about that's your mom movie right there. That's a Lifetime movie with a fucking shark in it. How Ellen got her groove back.
Now, do you guys think that this is we've talked about it roughly in like the pantheon of horror, right? In the 80s. How do you feel about this as a dad core movie? Is this sufficiently dad core, or is
I
it not?
wholly think so.
Yeah, I asked Misty this earlier today before we got on here. I was like, this is a dad movie, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love dad movies. It's one of my favorite genres of movies.
Yeah, we discovered that. I think it was session 9 when we covered that movie, and I was trying to figure out what it made me feel like, and I said it's a dad movie, and we discovered that's Misty to her core.
Yeah, I'm a dad.
Yeah.
In an article I wrote about the Arnold Schwarzenegger Netflix show, whose name escapes me. You know the one I'm talking about, Jay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't think of it now, but yeah.
Yeah, but they spent a lot of money on it. But I called it Dadcore TV.
Did.
Because it's very much a show where dad is like the smart guy and he makes all the right decisions. And there's not really a dad in this movie making the right decisions.
Oh no, there doesn't have to be a dad anywhere.
But I feel like this is pitched at the dad who was cool in the 80s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dad that was the quarterback in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, dad who had a Trans Am.
This is for Uncle Rico. That's who this movie is for.
Yes, absolutely. Uncle Rico core.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uncle Rico core. I think we've made a new subgenre.
I like that.
Putting it on the wheel.
It needs to be on the wheel. Uncle Rico core.
But there are no mountains in Texas for him to throw football over.
I know. It's a shame.
There's
Just
long
throw it
miles.
into the sunset.
Well,
Yeah.
it's okay. He could just, since he could just go to, this feels like it's near the place where they shot Tremors to me.
Yeah, it's kind of got a little bit.
I could see that, yeah.
Because it was all shot in like those California deserts, right? Even though it's doubling for Texas, they did a really good job of doubling the misery that is that part of Texas.
Yeah.
But I feel like if you keep going far enough, like if Rutger Hauer drives his magical mystery pickup truck,
It
a
is.
few more feet, he's going to get into perfection. And
Yeah.
then he'll have some hills, at least some hills and some rocky outcroppings to throw the football over.
In like the pretty West Texas, when you're like,
Mhm.
you're almost out of it. We
Yeah.
got gulches and a hill or two.
Yeah. It's
The
really
part where
nice
you can
over
see
that
the
part.
state line.
On the other side, toward New Mexico. Well, that's the
only
other thing
been
too.
to Texas once, so the only Texas I really know is from movies for the most part.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like
Okay with
another
that.
like tentacle this movie has a hand in though is Breaking Bad and just
Oh
the
yeah. Speaking of New
my
Mexico,
freaking-
yeah, I
Yeah.
can feel that.
It kind, I mean, I can't prove it, and I've never read anything where Vince Gilligan talked about it, but I just feel like this would have been something in his wheelhouse that he would have seen, and
I feel like if filmmakers haven't explicitly said they've been inspired by The Hitcher, I think a lot of them have been maybe unintentionally inspired by The Hitcher and put that into their work. I could see that in Breaking Bad for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I like about this movie is that lots of cops die in those car crashes. I think we can all agree on that.
Oh yeah,
And to me,
we
it's
got
like,
real consequences.
and
Yeah.
to me, it feels like, well, that's what should have happened to all those cops in the Blues Brothers.
or Smokey and the Bandit.
Or Smokey
the
and the
Bandit, Cannonball Run.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all of
dad
that.
movies.
Yes,
Yeah.
very dead.
And
Stroke race.
And
Yeah.
the first time you see the cop car roll over, I think, oh, well, clearly these guys watched Mad Max.
Yeah.
And
now you know.
And here's the connection.
Yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
cinematographer who did all those
Yep.
Australian cheapies.
Well, I think you're right, though. I mean, again, it's like there's a Hills Have Eyes kind of feel to it. It's all, but there's lots of. I mean, we talk about where the budget went. Again, I think all these car crashes are. I mean, they wrecked.
Oh, they're
a-
expensive
you
because
know.
I mean,
Oh,
every
yeah.
car you see, there's multiple of
Yeah,
those
I mean,
cars.
You're right.
Johnson's Cadillac, Ford, Lincoln, like made bank on this. So,
Yeah.
supplying all the
Product
cars.
placement.
Yeah, but I mean, really, like all the car wrecks and all that stuff. I mean, but it's so neat to see that because again, it's so. I'm not just trying to be like an old man, practical effects, all this stuff, but they are cool. It's just
Oh, we beat on practical effects every
right.
episode.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you see it though.
Yeah.
Like when there's stuff flying off that car. There's no way they planned that.
Yeah.
That's just the shot they got that day.
That's the beauty of the 80s and even 70s. And, I just,
into the 90s as well.
yes, yeah, we love that. We talk about that with even like sci-fi stuff too. Just, I love a good like creature feature when it's a mechanical.
It's styrofoam.
Muppet,
like Critters is a great example of that. Same
Yeah.
as this. Like those are just little cheesy hand puppets. But it's awesome. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's not like it doesn't take talent to CGI
Oh, of
and
course,
animate
absolutely.
these things because it takes like an incredible amount of brain power and talent to be able to do that. But practical effects are so satisfying for the soul, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
There's an organic nature to it.
Build me a set, like paint me a backdrop,
Yes.
light me a guy on fire.
Ooh.
Yes.
See, it's
There
very
you go,
theatrical. And
I
as
love a good
theater
painted
person,
backdrop.
I really love that.
I love a guy on fire.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say,
Oh,
Lindsay.
yeah,
It's
the fire
I
guy.
love seeing men on fire.
Damn.
you and Ron are I mean, the club of on fire people. But that's
That
the
was a
opening
party
act for
trick in
the-
high school. My friends and I would set our hands on fire. We
Isopropyl
you just coat
alcohol?
it. Yeah.
Did you guys watch the behind the music on Motley Crue a lot or something? Because they like showed you how to fucking do it. Like,
No.
they had to cut
No.
that out of.
That's
like,
just a
you- like-
secret. That was girls just told each other that secret.
Well, and we were really into like our local music scene, and a couple of the punk bands and metal bands in the local scene would do that. And we were like, you gotta show
practical
us how to.
effects.
Yeah,
Hell
we were like, you
yes.
gotta show us how to do that. They even got they had their own like fake blood recipe, so they would essentially like pour red corn syrup.
Did you have a like garage guar band where you grew up or something?
Do you know? Well,
What a
so
dream.
they played in the back room of the local bowling alley.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best kind of
perfect
band to
setting.
see.
Hell
yes. And there is actually still a pretty robust metal scene in the area that I'm told. One of my friends from high school does a lot with that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
But to what you were saying, Lizzie, like I feel like this, like practical effects are like theater versus film. I'm like, there's an artistry to both, but there's just something about watching people on a stage having to really connect with people and just go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still remember to this day, my junior year of high school, the senior play or the spring play was Agnes of God, and the girl they got to play Agnes ended up going to Pepperdine on a theater scholarship. And after seeing that, I knew why, because it was a killer performance. Like, and she's just up there just giving all of it, weeks at a time. And that's high school, and I'm like, you see, real productions and stuff, you just know what goes into it. And the same with these. I mean, these guys are like, okay, we got to flip these two cop cars. Well, we really only got time to set this up twice. So shoot it from both sides and let's see what mirror flies off this next time.
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of it.
Yeah. Like when Jim's like car hits the bus and like the bumper flies off. It's like, that's so obviously practical. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if you illustrated that, like it's CGI, it doesn't hit the same.
Yep.
No. It's different for the actors too. Like Jennifer Lawrence was interviewed about Hunger Games, and when she did the first Hunger Games, she had to go through this really intense archery training and like martial arts training and really like physically prepare for the role. And she said with every following Hunger Games movie, it was less and less work because more and more of it was CGI'd in. And they were like, oh yeah, no, you're good. Just show up and say the words.
Or like Ian McKellen with Lord of the Rings, like coming back from The Hobbit. Like he was literally crying because all he was doing was acting in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
Like, how do you even do that as an actor? That's crazy.
And he's a really good stage actor too. So
he is
trained.
He's really like
work off of.
Yeah, super tough. But no, I love the 80s practical effects, 70s, 90s, early aughts, but
it's dirty and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, Terrifier 2, it's bringing the practical effects back.
Right?
Love it. And that might be why I like it.
Terrifier franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Terrifier 4 has been greenlit.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep going.
I like how you say it was greenlit, like anybody's responsible for it other than Damien Leone.
He greenlit his own movie. He
greenlit his own movie because he made enough off of the second one to pay for all of them in true Roger Corman fashion.
Yeah.
Art the Clown goes to space. Killer Clowns from Outer Space with Art the Clown. Please, let's do
shut up. Oh, yeah, like black and white art against all the clowns. Oh, how perfect.
That'd be great.
He's about to roll up with the Griswolds in a second.
No, I love that we're calling them the Griswolds.
I was literally going to say that. I love that.
I love it stuck so much.
They're such a perfect descriptor.
There's so many Lampoon-esque things in this movie.
It's the same car, right?
Yeah.
It's a very similar
pretty
car.
much. Yeah. Yeah, that
but
was
even
great.
when he was going up behind them when Ryder was going up behind Jim in the big, like in the old truck, it reminded me of Christmas Vacation where he's got those rednecks in the big truck behind him. And I was like, wow, that came out after this movie for sure.
Huh. See?
I think.
Yeah. You're right.
Yep.
Let me read that somewhere on the internet. I swear.
See, that's why Rutger Hauer was so mad at this guy. They were driving along, and as he raced past him, he yelled out, "Eat my road grit, liver lips," and it just set him off.
That's what set off his villain arc.
He did. Hey kids, look over there. I called the Daryl Dixon show. I've called it in a couple different places. Daryl Dixon's European Vacation, and also National Lampoon's The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of Griswold connections.
Yeah,
a lot of Griswold connections. I feel that's fine. I think that's fair. So. I mean, like this Shocktober has been so bountiful because we've got Dig Dead Meat and now we got the Dead Griswolds. I feel like we have really outkicked our.
And you have your first song.
I know.
You're good to go.
Our second song. Our
first song.
Jay, how are you with?
Season.
How are you with auto-tune, Jay? I feel like you could.
I've actually never played.
Could be a thing.
But
then Rutger Hauer steals a pickup and shoots down a helicopter.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's gonna be in your head all night now.
If I don't hear this on Spotify, I'm gonna be really pissed.
Yeah.
What a trip. What a cross-country trip this has been.
What a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Really, what a journey. I'm so glad that we got to share this road trip together, everybody. I think it's time for us to come to our final thoughts and popcorn ratings. And Misty and Kendall, in case you don't know, we rate our movies on a scale of popcorn that you would get in a movie theater.
That.
Me too.
Small to extra large, or whatever you feel warrants something in between.
Okay.
Any add-ins, any, butter, salt, etc. Go for it. Go nuts. So, Misty and Kendall, you can flip a coin, whichever one wants to go first. But please tell us your final thoughts and popcorn ratings on The Hitcher.
Yeah. So I loved this movie. I'm really excited to watch the remake now, especially hearing Jay's talking about how it might be a little gorier. I'm real excited about that. My rating, I'm going to give it a large popcorn, as I did like it a lot. But I do think it's going to be a large popcorn that could use a little more butter. Just a little more butter for the gore that was left out.
Okay. I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I also loved this movie more than I was expecting to. I don't know what I was expecting coming into it. I was not expecting a road rage in broad daylight movie.
Yeah.
And I really love that. So I'm giving it a large popcorn, but with free refills.
Ooh.
Because of the added dad movie aspect.
Love that.
Yeah.
Ronald.
Yes, Lindsay. I feel like I'm being called on by the teacher now.
Yeah, right.
But
Front
early on
man for the dead Griswolds.
yes, but early on it's early on in the school year before they know that I prefer wrong. So, yes, I will join Misty and Kendall in the crypt with the large popcorn club. I had a great time with this movie.
Mhm.
I do feel that it could have used a little bit more gore. Clearly, I think that the inclination to add the gore was there from the very beginning, and people just backed out or chickened out or just didn't want to pony up the extra $5 for the corn syrup deluxe. So yeah, I'll go large popcorn with one severed finger in it.
Perfect. Perfect.
That really is perfect. I hate it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Jay, I can't call on you like Ronald. Joseph, maybe.
I had a fifth grade teacher who was convinced my name was Jason, and I was like, I promise you, it is not. Would you? Here's my papers. Would you like to see them? I mean, again, this movie's been in my life for most of it, so it's obviously one that I'll come back to. I think it's large popcorn too because it should be a medium popcorn. It's a total medium popcorn movie, but it elevates itself because you can just come back to it, and there's so many different things to talk about and read about. And I mean, Kendall, I won't front load you too much on. You watch that remake, and you'd be like, "Oh, okay," and you probably won't ever want to watch it again because this one has got so much more to it.
Yeah.
You're watching the cover band of the thing,
Okay.
and that's fine, but that's at least my reading of it. But this one just, and a lot of it is in the fact that they got two performers to carry this thing who absolutely understood what they were supposed to do and just nailed it. You got the boy next door and you got the creepiest motherfucker that ever lived on the screen together, and you let them just scenery. And that's what I think keeps me coming back to this movie is that it does have a lot of action and it doesn't waste time and stuff, but there's a lot of dialogue and it's all very sly and subtle. And, this movie uses silence in an incredible way too, that you only get out in that deserted part of America. And so I love it. I mean, I think it's large popcorn. It's just a little too salty is what I'm going to say. Like back off the salt, a little more butter. We might have made it perfect, but I still think it's great. And I'm glad you got to introduce it to three people this time around that have never seen it before.
For sure.
So yeah,
Got a little too much of that West Texas seasoning on it, dust.
Yeah.
Texas Pete.
There's a couple points in this movie before I pitch it to Lindsey. There's a couple points in this movie where I feel like they just accidentally got caught in dust storms, and they're just like, screw it, we leave it in. Like,
yeah,
everybody's dirty.
Like when Pony Boy runs out of the gas station. At a certain point, he's just like walloped, and he just disappears into a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
Tumbleweed rolls by, and I feel like there's no way that they gimmicked that tumbleweed to roll by exactly at the time. This is just a thing that happens out in the high desert.
Yep.
Right. And now, Lindsey, it's your turn. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you.
I took control of the classroom there for a minute. My bad.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable enough with myself to allow you to take control of the classroom. I am also going to give it a large popcorn. I think that this movie, as Misty, I think you mentioned, it doesn't assume that the audience is dumber than they are, but it also doesn't ask a lot of you, but it gives you the space to like go to the citadel of crazy and come up with your own, theories about, are Jim and Ryder the same person, or is Ryder the angel of death? And what are these, what does it all mean? So you can sit back, relax, and not really put a whole lot of effort into it, or you could put as much effort into it as you want. And either way, it's really a fun movie to watch. And I liked it. I loved all of the practical effects. I'll echo all of the acting notes that we've given. And I agree. It's a good large popcorn. I would have liked a little more blood. I'm with everybody else here. So not much else to add on that. So With that, it is a unanimous large popcorn vote with a handful of a handful.
A hand with some missing fingers.
Other things in there.
There's
Maybe
the
just a
dad
French
joke,
fry.
Yeah.
I'll just put a rogue. I'll put a rogue French fry in my popcorn.
I like that.
Maybe not a Fringer, but
Yeah.
But before we sign off here, Misty and Kendall, please tell the folks again how they can follow you and find Two Girls One Crypt.
Yeah. Before we do that, there is one thing that Misty and I wanted to kind of share with you guys. It's something that we do at the end of each of our episodes that we thought would be kind of fun. Misty talks about a book in every episode that kind of pertains to the category that we're talking about or the topic. And I present a song that is appropriate. And we thought that would be fun to do that on here. So Misty, do you want to do your book first?
Sure. So mine's actually a novella. So The Hitcher is undeniably inspired by Duel, which is written by Richard Matheson and directed by Steven Spielberg. And I couldn't help but think of Stephen King the whole time I was watching this movie. And I was like, why is that? And it's because there is a novella that is titled Throttle, which is written by Stephen King and his son, Joe Hill. Originally appeared in a short story collection, which was honoring Richard Matheson, called He Is Legend, republished into one of Joe Hill's short story collections called Full Throttle, I think in 2019, maybe sometime recently. It is full on motorcycle club being terrorized by a semi truck. It's the same vibes. I love this novella so much. I've read it multiple times. It is fully it's Stephen King just unhinged, like unleashing everything that he loves into a story with his son, and I just love that. If you love The Hitcher, you will love Full Throttle, the whole short story collection, but especially Throttle.
So the song was kind of difficult. I didn't really know what I was going for, but I finally stumbled across the perfect song On the Run by Pink Floyd. It has no lyrics. It's very synth, and I just feel like it would be perfect for the tension in the background of a movie just like this. And kind of think like it was obviously the song was made in the 70s and this movie was in the 80s, but it kind of made me think of what they do with the score of Stranger Things. And it really works with the tone of the movie. And so I thought that would be a perfect little addition to this.
That's outstanding. And the song also just hits because Pink Floyd had to do that with just the stuff they had sitting around in the studios, like the practical effects. Yeah. They were running tape around microphones and doing stuff to make that happen.
That's perfect then.
Yeah.
It really,
really, really perfect. So I love both of those recommendations. Awesome.
And that's a great call on the book too, because that's a great call on the book recommendation too, because that is a fabulous novella.
Isn't it? It's like, I've read it, I don't even know how many times. It's just, it's excellent. And it's so Stephen King. But as far as where to follow us, you can follow us on Instagram at Two Girls One Crypt. We post pretty regularly. We put out episodes every other week. Recently, we've gone every week because we put out a lot of bonus episodes. But yeah.
Yeah. And you can listen to us wherever you find podcasts. Correct. And definitely follow us on Instagram. We like to share random stuff and fun stuff as well.
They do. Highly recommend.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
Ron, are you working on anything at Den of Geek these days?
Yes, actually. I just about probably a month or two before this comes out, I will have gotten really back into the Walking Dead universe again, specifically the Daryl Dixon show, and then I'm sure there's going to be other things. I've been getting a lot of Netflix true crime stuff, so if you're into the true crime, check it out. I've done some pretty work I'm pretty proud of in that vein, specifically about Worst Roommate Ever and Worst Ex Ever, the two Blumhouse Netflix crossover collaborations about terrible people doing terrible things to otherwise nice people. So check those out. And then also learn more about Daryl Dixon's European Vacation and or National Lampoon's The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that concludes our show, ladies and gents. You can find and follow us on social media at FilmstripPod. We share announcements about upcoming shows and other fun content. And don't forget to subscribe and share the show. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review. It helps other people find our podcast. Until next time, thanks for listening to Filmstrip.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.